Hi, and welcome to this week's ATL Home and Market podcast. I'm Ira Miskin. I am broker and team leader for Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty in the Miskin Team, along with my co-team leader, Stephanie Miskin, and
Hello.
hello, and our associate broker and senior team advisor and outside agent leader, Josh Guallett, who's joining us again this week. We've got a really interesting group of stories for you this week, and it's really a lot about the needs and the goals and the motivations and just the things that happen of the moment when you're helping people to buy and sell homes, both the emotional side of the experience as well as the financial side of the experience. And we had three pretty good stories that I think you'll both enjoy and also learn a great deal about. But before we get started, Stephanie's going to tell you a little bit about something really, really interesting that we did the other day. It was a wonderful charity group that we worked with, and also give you some great tips on what's fun to do around Metro Atlanta this coming week.
Yeah, so we love to give back. Our team loves to volunteer. We've done a lot of volunteer work for Must Ministries in the past, and this year we decided we wanted to try another avenue to volunteer. And I found this organization called the Foundation for Hospital Art, Painting to Brighten the World, and this is their newsletter. And what this organization does, it is located right here in Woodstock, but they have companies that will come in and buy murals that are kind of sort of like paint by numbers, and they will donate it to the cause. And say there might be 4 or 5 panels. Here's like an example of something hanging on the wall in the hospital, and they will paint the canvases. It's kind of like paint by numbers. Anyway, after that point in time, they then send them back to their home office, basically in Woodstock, and it's all volunteers that come in, and our job is to finish them up, basically clean them up, give them a second coat of paint, brighten them up, and it's lots of fun. It's kind of like paint by numbers. So all of these paintings are donated to hospitals, nursing homes, assisted living centers, and it's not just America. They go to 195 countries. They've been around for a long time. I think they've been around
This
since
is their
around
40th anniversary.
How many?
40th. This is their 40th anniversary.
Okay, right. So this is their 40th anniversary, and in the past year, just in the past year alone, they've donated to 24 countries, including the U.S., Japan, Romania, France, Mexico. Within the United States alone, murals were painted and donated to over 200 cities across the nation, and that also includes Alaska and Hawaii. They have a quest, is to donate at least one painting to every healthcare facility in the world. In 2022, they donated 1,700 paintings, but that's only a start. With the support of all the volunteers, because this is basically volunteer run, they want to donate to 195 countries, painted with over 1 million people, and donated over 52,000 paintings. So it's just a great organization, and it's like bringing joy to places that otherwise, are a little bit dull and depressing, hospitals, clinics, things like that. So we did that yesterday, and here's their newsletter, and anybody can volunteer. You can just get online. They also have a Facebook page. You can get online for the Foundation for Hospital Art, and there's a volunteer section, and you can do it. And not only is it a great cause, but it's also a lot of fun and and I think my crew enjoyed it, even those that aren't creative.
Like
so
me.
We did that yesterday. What?
Huh? Not creative like me.
Not
Can't
creative like you.
right. I can't draw a straight line. So
Yeah, you don't have to worry about it. That's not, you don't have to be creative to do it. You just have to have the idea that you want to give back. So there's lots of stuff going on here in the Atlanta area and surrounding coming up. And this is going to encompass the next couple of weeks. In Woodstock, the Summer Concert Festival is coming up. It's a whole series. The series. And it's going to start, let's see, when is the first one here? In the next few weeks. I can't, here it is. I can't exactly find the date, but it's in the amphitheater that they built in Woodstock, and it's free. You just got to get there early because it's very, very crowded. Lots of people go to this thing, and it's going to be 14,000 people cram into an amphitheater to go to these free concerts. But it's tons of fun, and you need to check it out. Here it is. I think it starts. Well, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's soon. Okay. There's also coming up on May the 10th, which is Mother's Day. This is so much fun. I've been to this lots of times. It's the annual Cherokee County Mother's Day Powwow and Indian Festival. It's so much fun. It's up there in Canton. It's an art festival. It's all kinds of Native American dancers, Aztec dancers, wildlife display. Again, that's coming up May the 10th in Boling Park in Canton. So try to check that out. Another thing that's coming up on May the 1st, which I think some people are going to like, I sure as heck like this, it's going to be a rodeo. I mean, you don't have a lot of rodeos coming through, but this one's coming through Wills Park, Equestrian Center in Alpharetta. It's going to have, bareback, bronco riding, breakaway, roping, bull riding, calf roping, all the stuff that you think about in a typical rodeo. It is tons of fun. If you have kids, definitely bring the kids because they'll love it. And then there's the Chastain Park Spring Arts Festival in the city in Chastain Park, again on Mother's Day. And they have more than 175 painters, potters, photographers, sculptors. It's been around forever. And try to check that out. There's going to be a children's play area also. But definitely check that out. That would be May the 10th to the 11th. So lots of stuff coming up, and I will keep looking to see exactly when the start date is for the Woodstock Summer Festival, and let you know before this podcast is over. But, try to check it out. Thanks.
That's why people move to Metro Atlanta because it's big, it's business oriented, it's people oriented. It has wonderful locations where you can go and enjoy events and just have a good time, whether you're an individual or with a family or a group of friends. And again, as we've said before, so many of the events are surrounded by wonderful communities. Woodstock, when we first came to Georgia, was just a sleepy little rural town.
And there was nothing there. I found it. It's May the 10th. That's opening. The opening show on May the 10th will open with one of the largest and most celebrated Taylor Swift tribute acts.
My wife is already pulling us there.
All those Swifties and all those little girls and ladies that love Taylor Swift. That's going to be May the 10th, and you better get there early because otherwise you ain't getting in.
Okay.
There you go.
This huge event has more people coming to the event than populated the entire town of Woodstock back when we first came up here to North Metro Atlanta. And now Woodstock is as cosmopolitan a community as you can find any place, but surrounded by wonderful 100-year-old homes, which is surrounded by wonderful large subdivisions and communities, which have dotted all through them great estate lots where people build houses on 3, 4, 5 acres. just a wonderful North Side community that was just a little sleepy town where the trains stopped for a moment to pick up and drop off goods and just go right by. That's what Metro Atlanta has become and is continuing to grow outward, northward, southward, east, and west, all throughout the metropolitan community, which again makes Atlanta, as the center of the Southeast, just such an extraordinary place to want to be, educate your children, have a good time, sit around and rest, enjoy the spring and summer, the warm weather from basically February to November. Can't beat that. Which is why people like some of the folks that Josh is going to tell you about, um, having family here, but living all the way out on the West Coast in California, decided to move to Atlanta. But they had a really interesting story that Josh helped them work through. Josh being the real estate advisor who actually worked with them to help them through this. Josh, why don't you tell folks about that one?
Yeah, it's crazy the motivations why people do what they do, because we can make buying a home, selling a home as smooth as humanly possible, but it's still a big decision. It's a lot of moving parts, because so you really have to be motivated to make that journey to do that. So this particular person, they were coming from California, so there's really three people involved. Without throwing too much of their names out there. There's Betty, there's Donna, and there's Jennifer. Betty and Donna, they live in California. They're mother and daughter, and then granddaughter, she lives in Georgia. So what happens is one day I get a phone call from Betty. She is about 80 at the time, 75, 80 at the time. And she tells me, it's me and Donna here. We have no other family here. We want to live close to our granddaughter in Georgia. So I say, okay, great. The biggest issue is because of age, because of some health issues, she's too old to fly and look for properties themselves here. So she tells us, go out with my daughter, my granddaughter. Let's go find a house. So what happens is we go out, Jennifer and I, we go out, we see a bunch of homes, take a bunch of pictures, eventually find the perfect little home, actually in Canton, that they fell in love with. That she knew was the perfect house. So what we do is we send hundreds of pictures, hundreds of videos to Betty and Donna and say, we think this is the perfect house, and they agree. So what happens is between the time of them coming from California to Georgia, they sell their house in California, and those two and their 5 cats buy an RV, and they drive from from California all the way to Georgia. To this day, no one ever gave me an explanation. I've never gotten a straight answer on why it occurred this way. But they were supposed to get there the day before closing. They get there the day of closing. And at that time, so they pull up to the house. We walk to the front yard. They walk to the backyard. Walk to the bedrooms. They say, we love this house. It's a great house. We walk to the kitchen. They say, we love this kitchen. It's a little small, but we love this house. Exact words, word for word. So what happens is because the time they got there on the day of closing, there's not enough time to sit down and have coffee. There's no time to have a little conversation, to chat. What they do is we have to get to the closing office. So what they do is they unhook their car from the back of the RV, and we all caravan to the closing office, 15 minutes away. So we get to the office, closing, and whether you've been there at closing or not, it's pretty straightforward. You have a big table, buyer sell on one side, seller sell on the other, attorney sit at the end. And so we get to the closing office, and the attorney walks in, starts handing paperwork out, and as he's saying, it's great weather today and all that, and Bay turns to me and says, I don't think you understand. The kid is too small. We're not buying this house. On the day of closing. Literally at the closing table. And there's nothing I could do. She's about 80 years old, great little lady, with her, her face will be on the side of a box of cookies. She's that, gray hair and everything. And you can't force an 80-year-old to do anything they don't want to do. And I have to admit, she didn't buy that house. She did not buy that house. But so it was a rough day. All I could do was slowly raise my hand and say, we have a problem, and, get looked at ugly for a few hours. But we got through it. And a week later, we found this one house that my favorite ranch I've ever seen in my entire life. The house, it was the perfect house for them. We found the house. We closed a week later. We found it, and we closed immediately after that. The only ranch, honestly, in my entire life I'll ever buy. So from that story comes this story. What happens is about a year later, I get a phone call, and what has occurred is the granddaughter, Jennifer, has had the audacity to have their very first baby. There's no other family in the entire U.S., the entire probably world, but there's no other family except for this grandbaby, which is the only baby in the entire family. And she has had the audacity to have it. And now, because they're both retired, both Donna and Betty, or Betty and Donna are retired, she drives an hour north from Woodstock, where she dropped the baby off at them, and then she'll drive 2 hours south, where she was a manager at Trader Joe's. And they said they don't like her having to drive so much. So what we ended up doing is we sold their house for free, got them into a for sale by owner in their daughter's subdivision, so her daughter doesn't have to drive anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad stories. There's a whole lot of bad stories why we had to use the guarantee that if you don't like your house for any reason for up to a year, we'll buy it back or sell it for free. Well, there's a lot of reasons why we've had to use that. There's very few good reasons, and that was one of the few good reasons. So I can also tell you about the other stories, but I want to get the good reasons right.
So there's a couple of things at work here.
Good story, though.
Yeah, it's a good story. And there's a couple of things at work here. Number one is because Stephanie and I, back in the day, helped people buy houses remotely by sending them videos and sending them photographs. And they came and they saw the house. And the house was better in person than it was in the photographs, and they were happy and they closed. But somebody coming seeing the house the day of close, and they love the backyard, they love the front yard, they love this room, they love that room. The kitchen's a little small, but she didn't say the kitchen is too small, I'm not buying this house.
Right.
She just said the kitchen's a little small, but it's okay.
Right.
Yeah.
But she didn't until they got to the closing table, as if she was buying, a box of cookies or something, and she could give it back. She said, "No, you don't understand. The kitchen is too small." That was like, oh my God. And you can imagine at the closing table what the seller was experiencing.
And my thought is the seller has already spent their money. Like that money has already been spent by the seller. So saying that day,
yeah,
it was a blow. I felt it, but there's nothing we could do. We found a much better deal, got her in a much better situation. But it was a fun day.
But see, there are compensations that have to come with it. Obviously, the buyer lost their earnest money.
Yeah.
Right.
And we had to do a lot of conversational work to help the selling side to understand that, this is an extraordinary and very unusual situation, and we all feel absolutely terrible about it. But you're talking about an 80-year-old woman who wants what she wants and is going to have what she wants because that's just how it's going to be. And so you can sue her and you probably lose, but they're willing to give up their earnest money, which was $5,000 or $6,000. It wasn't a penny. And they got the house sold, and it delayed them by about 30 or 45 days. But there was a lot of both side hand-holding and smoothing and hugging and apologizing and getting everybody to understand there's no maliciousness in this, but these are things that happen, and it is part of the work that is done when you're helping buyers and sellers, particularly when you're helping buyers. And then the other thing that Josh talked about, which is really important, which doesn't happen all that often, but it happens frequently enough so that it's a great saver, is one of the things that we offer is our guarantee that if for any reason in the first 2 years you no longer want or need the home that you're in, and want to sell that home and buy another will either buy it back from you or sell it for you for free. And in this case, Josh helped the grandmother and mother to sell their home for free, meaning we didn't take any commissions, which saved them a lot of money, so that they had the cash that they needed to be able to put down on this new house and be able to effect a very quick purchase and have a quick sale on their home, because basically, we were able to get that home sold in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And saved everybody a great deal of money. But was really of most importance to them was being able to help their granddaughter to bring that baby to grandma and great grandma, so that everybody's lifestyle and work and the comfort of the baby was paramount to them, was taken care of. And we were able to do it very simply by being able to help them to sell that house by either buying it from them or selling it for free, and in this case, selling it for free. So, see, part of what is needed is not only having people who don't, I guess, boil down, and just find no way to deal with the things that come up that are outside of what you would typically expense, like at the closing table, not buying that house, and being able to help people, even in tough situations like that, come to terms and an agreement, even when, feelings are hurt and, time is lost, so that everybody parts, not friends, but certainly parts amicably, with everybody understanding and everybody knowing what has to be given in order to be able to achieve things. This is part of knowing how to work with people and helping solve problems that you would not think of come along. That's why the need for top-notch advisors, wherever you are in the country seeing this, having top-notch advisors with the kind of experience and the kind of vision necessary, and having systems and programs and a team behind them to be able to get done the business side of what's necessary to help the emotional and personal side. But then there are folks like a family that Stephanie's going to tell you about, where there's a lot of things that are not typical and normal in the purchase, and that it's a first-time situation, and somebody who needs a lot of hugs and hand-holding, but also needs some very specific things in order to make the house that's being purchased work. Very specific reasons.
Yeah. So, part of being good at this business is it is a people business, and it's a relationship building business. You really have to be able to get your client to trust you, and you really have to be able to get your client to open up so that you can understand and get from them what their needs are and what their wants are. They're very nervous. It's a very intense time in their life. They're probably spending the most money that they spent on anything in their life. So they're like emotionally charged. And so you have to be able to handle that emotional part of this whole process. But this is an interesting story. This was many years ago, and I'm still in contact with this person. We are friends. We talk probably a couple of times a month. But this woman was recently divorced, which was a big, huge deal because she was from India and she had an arranged marriage. Then she came to America. She was highly educated. She was an engineer, and she came to America and had a baby and ended up like, they don't do this in India, but she divorced her husband. So, that in itself was made her an emotional wreck, I guess. And her little girl was, I think she wasn't even in preschool. So maybe she was like 3 years old at the time. They were living in an apartment, and she called me And it was like first time buying, recently divorced, didn't understand the whole American system of buying a house, was calling her dad in India all the time for encouragement, along with me and Ira. We were not as old as her parents, but maybe there was a 10-year difference between us. And there were two really important things to her besides everything else. One of them was really good schools for her daughter, who is now in medical school. So it tells you how many years this has been. And her daughter's very smart. They're in the same house and she's in medical school. But the other thing that was important to her because of her religious beliefs was the house had to paint a face a specific direction. And I believe was it east, Ira?
East. Yeah. Had to face east.
Had to face east. So before we even went into any house, and this was years ago, so there wasn't the phones with the compasses built in. I had to pull out a compass, point it to the house. If the door was facing east, great. If the door wasn't facing east, we had to go on. So she ended up getting a lot in a great subdivision with very good schools and building. The guy had started building. It ended up being a split. So it was very good for, families. Splits are always great for families. And, it did face the right direction and we got her through it. And, she's now, thrilled because that was years ago. And had she not had the encouragement and, had a realtor who was patient enough to deal with the 3-year-old that was losing the compass every 15 minutes. And, I had to remain calm through all of that and held her hand and talked to her parents in India. She probably never would have bought a house. And so those are the things that we deal with on a regular basis. And if you're good, you really do have to dig down deep and understand what people's wants and needs are.
Yeah, you see, you're talking about knowing and understanding why people are buying, why they're moving, what they need. I need to be in a community that has really good schools because when my daughter is old enough to go to school, I want her to be in the best public schools in the area. I want and need a house in a very safe community because I'm a single mom and I want to know that there are people around that I can depend on and that the community is a low crime area and I can feel safe when I'm home alone with my young daughter. I want the house to be in a physical space where, we have some privacy because that is important. Because of our religious beliefs, the house also has to give us what we need to be able to satisfy our religious needs and goals. In this case, is face east and some other parameters. And we also have to be in a situation where, because I am a single mom and I am shouldering the entire cost, I have to be able to afford this and still be in the kind of community that gives me back all I need. And typically, the single moms in our milieu don't go out and buy homes and do business and go to work and do all of the things that you do in America that I'm now adjusting to. And it's just so outside of everything that I have ever experienced that this is just a scary time. So you have to be business, you have to be parent, you have to be friend, you have to be focused, you have to be intuitive. And that's all part of helping people to be able to achieve what their needs and goals are and do it in a way that makes them feel as well as experience all that's necessary for them to achieve that next step, which is to buy or sell a home. which is a thing completely imbued by emotion and feelings and the need to be satisfied and pleased. Very interesting. So different than, being you buy a car. I love that car. But 3 years later, you don't love it so much and you sell it as a used car and you buy another one. And you don't remember that car because all you did was drive back and forth to work. But in that house, so much of your life takes place. That's what makes owning a home and buying a home or selling a home so important and so emotional. Now, I have an interesting story about a family that encompasses many of those things, but from a completely different point of view. This was a family, 3 siblings, who were selling their parents' house that they had inherited, and they were selling it out of their estate. And the 3 siblings lived in different states, one here in Georgia, one in a closely related state, and one on the other side of the country. And it was a nifty old brick ranch that was huge on a 1-acre lot right in Marietta, old Marietta, not very far from Marietta High School. Terrific old neighborhood where a lot of the older houses were being bought and they were being remodeled and updated. And it was just a go-to kind of a community. Well, they wanted and needed to sell the home. But they had an unusual request because it was exactly the kind of house that could be sold in a heartbeat to an investor who would pay pretty much market value, refurbish the house, and then sell it for a whole heck of a lot more. They had really loved the experience of growing up in this house as a family. It had been a wonderful relationship with their parents. It was a great community. It was very rural in those days. They had this acre lot and they could have dogs running around, and it just had a great feeling to them. And so even though they could sell the house almost immediately and get pretty much top dollar for its value, they wanted to find a family that would appreciate the home. Well, the home was in really great physical shape, but it was very much 1960. Everything, if you opened the cabinets, they looked like they were brand new, but in 1960. And the windows and the style of the windows all worked perfectly, but stylistically, they were 1960. So you would expect that somebody would want to buy that house and then tear it all apart and refurbish it and make it, 2020. So my job was to find a family that was very much in love with mid-century modern and who wanted to be in a house that felt like it was mid-century modern, 1960-ish, and really appreciated all that style and would also buy the house for top dollar. And so we had to create a marketing plan that reached out both across Metro Atlanta and across the entire United States so that people who were relocating to the Metro Atlanta area would also be able to see this home. It took a couple of weeks, but by golly, we found a family that was moving up from Texas who just absolutely loved the mid-century modern feeling of a home like that. And when they came to see the house, it was exactly perfectly what they wanted. But we had to target the entire United States with marketing on the internet, marketing on Google, marketing on Facebook, marketing through all of the social media and community real estate and family sales websites all across the country. Making sure that when we got it marketed on the big syndicators like Realty.com and Zillow and others, that the story that was being told was of a wonderful family home being sold as is that was perfectly move-in ready for people who loved and appreciated mid-century modern. And by golly, we did it. And everybody at that closing was in tears. I love the home so much, said the buyers. And we love so much that you found exactly who we wanted so that they could have the wonderful feeling that we had growing up in this house. And that's how it closed. The idea was to understand the seller's motivation. It was not just about the money. It was about continuing this wonderful remembrance they had and finding people who fit their remembrance, which meant you just don't sell a home. You have to think about who the buyer is that would be most appreciative of the benefits that this home brings, and then market to the buyers that are seeking the benefits of that home, which is exactly what we did, and it all worked out great. And this is how, as Josh has told you, and as Stephanie has told you, is what is really required when you help people to buy and sell homes. There's the business side of it, which is very important. And there's the personal and human and emotional side of it, which oftentimes is even more important to the people who are buying and selling than the business side. So as you're thinking, and when you think, gosh, I might be interested in buying or selling a home, yes, be sure to think about the business side of it. Be sure to know and understand what you feel about it, and then find a real estate advisor or a team of advisors, whether it's Metro Atlanta or it's any place in the country that you're watching this, that knows how to both execute on the business side, but also knows how to work with you on the personal side. Steffi, anything more you want to tell us about what's great going on in Atlanta?
No, I covered it all. I just get out there and enjoy because there's just so much stuff happening right now, and these art festivals are great. Great fun. You can find some beautiful work. They're juried art festivals, so there's some really wonderful work at them. So get out there, and if you've never been to a rodeo, I strongly suggest you check it out because they really are a lot of fun.
Yeah. Josh, any advice to folks who are thinking about buying or selling, and how to kind of get an emotional as well as a business feeling to it?
So one thing I like to tell, especially first-time home buyers, especially in this market, and the market that's been here for the last 4 or 5 years, is that you just get into the market. Get into the market. You do not have to have the most perfect house. Get the one that fits your family, fits all your needs, and then get as many wants as you can, but get all your needs in place. Because one thing I can say, if you're renting, especially, you will never build equity. There's no way for that rental to ever turn into anything that's going to benefit you. Even if you're in a house that's not your perfect house, at least to someone else that's the perfect house. So the day you sell it, you do have some equity, and that you can go ahead and buy the home that you really do want. But unless you're actually in the flow of the stream, unless you're actually in the river, you'll never flow down the river. You'll never get down. You'll never benefit. So,
yeah, that's one thing that is so different now that you need to understand is people don't buy houses that they expect to live and die in.
Mhm.
People move now all the time. It's a different era than it was 30 years ago. So Josh is absolutely right. Just get in. Stop supporting your landlord and build your own wealth through real estate.
So, want to thank you all for watching this week. We enjoyed talking about stories of people that we've been able to help because they're really wonderful illustrations of how we all live and how we all need to think, and how owning real estate sounds very businessy. It's so important to lifestyle. It's so important to your finances. It's so important for you to have as equity and backup. It's just wonderful. And it's also wonderful to be able to come home and know that you can put a nail in the wall and hang a picture anywhere you want, which you can't do when you rent. So again, Stephanie and Josh and I want to thank you for coming and visiting with us this week. If you like what you heard, just when you view this video, just check like. And if you want to watch us on a regular basis, please subscribe to ATL Home Market. And if you want any additional information about anything that you talked, you can click on the link that's in the information that accompanies this. And that will send us a message to send you any of the special reports about anything we've talked about. And certainly you can contact us at any time to be able to ask us questions that would be helpful for you as you think about buying or selling a home. And so from all of us to you, we thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thanks. Have a great week.
Well, take care.
Take care.